The coral adventurer's journey across the top of Australia continues, with the ship powering across the Timor Sea towards Western Australia. Whilst most guests enjoyed a sleep in after their late return from Uluru, for expedition leader Cara Kavanagh and her team, there is planning to be done ahead of the ship's arrival at Ashmore Reef.
Alright, so we're going to be offering the guided snorkels. Now we've had a few guests identify themselves today as wanting to take that guided snorkel, so we need to make sure we identify them on the Explorer and we make a plan with them before we get them in the water. Everything from making sure that their mask fits properly, getting them comfortable and having the right flotation once they're in the water. Now with your guided snorkels, you want to have them hanging on the ring. So basically you're doing a lot of the kicking work. They are expected to kick, but just keep it in mind that these are our more high-risk snorkelers and you want to take extra care of them and make sure that they're comfortable in the water.
The Ashmore Reef Nature Reserve on the edge of the continental shelf has been under the protection of the Australian government since 1931. Some 850 kilometres from Darwin, the trip is a late inclusion, with the crew deciding to make the most of a small window of opportunity.
So we're able to head out to Ashmore Reef, which is an isolated reef system right out on the Australian-Indonesian border. And there's a small window of opportunity each year that the winds are favourable, and so we're in that sweet spot at the moment. So we've decided to change our itinerary from the Kimberley to head out to Ashmore and Scott's Reef and really maximise this location that is very hard to get to, and most Australians will never be able to see it. So I think it's a unique experience that the guests are really going to enjoy over the next 2 days.
Cara selects a site called Manta Alley for snorkelling and scuba activities, with passengers exploring the large flat coral platforms. Almost 300 kilometres from the Australian mainland, the coral atolls, which make up Scott Reef, provide an exceptional snorkelling location, passengers exploring coral blooms and gardens which rise from depths of 800 metres. For Group Managing Director Mark Fifield, the change of schedule and trip to the remote Ashmore and Scott Reefs ticks all the expedition boxes ticked during the planning stages of the voyages.
What we wanted to do is, I guess we're Australian flagged and we are an Australian culture, so, and most of our clientele, Australian based, was trying to deliver a product for our Australian guests who are looking to travel in the style that we offer. As we expanded, it was where can we go that we can't get to or nobody else had been to, so we're really the pioneers of many of the itineraries through the regions.
Beautiful, the corals are beautiful, pretty and purple, blue. Oh, they're healthy, it's so good to see. Beautiful, loved it.
Dive instructor Georgina Pickford steps in on the dives and snorkelling activities, providing a level of care which enables each passenger to access and enjoy all aquatic activities, regardless of their experience or mobility.
Some of the incredible places that we get to go to, having me on board means that we can make the most of those really remote, beautiful reef systems and be able to take people who are feeling a little bit more adventurous underwater as well as above the water, and make sure that it's all run really safely and everyone has a good time. When we're preparing our guests for snorkeling, some of the key things are making sure that they're comfortable. A lot of people haven't been in the water for a long time, so getting them back in and comfortable and feeling good is one of the main things, and I think everyone is able to enjoy themselves once that has been achieved.
As the sun sets on another day and our guests enjoy well-earned refreshments on deck, the expedition team are planning another day of aquatic expeditions, this time in the Lacepedes.
I'm really trying to maximise our amount of time in the water and getting people as up and close as I can to these unique remote reef systems.
Located off the Kimberley coast in the warmer waters of the Indian Ocean, the Lacepede's reef system is home to an abundance of marine life, including sea turtles like these ones who have come out to enjoy the sun. The island consists of 4 coral cays, west, middle, sandy and east, with our excursion entering the lagoon between west and middle.
About 10,000 turtles nest here per year, about 10,000 per annum. And researchers monitor the turtles by flying over, I think they might even use drones now, and they count the tracks, the turtle tracks. And of course the turtle tracks, they go up and down, so they have to count them and divide by 2. And in one night, the maximum they counted was 460 turtles in one night.
White tip, yeah, we definitely get juvenile reef sharks out here, so we'll get the white tips, the black tips, and we also get the small grey reef sharks as well.
Okay.
You can see tawny nurse here, and also with all these turtles, what type of shark do you reckon we might see?
This is clearly good.
Their favourite food
What is it?
of the tiger shark is the green sea turtle. So definitely keep your eyes out. Also, possibly hammerheads. Maybe an eagle ray there, yeah, super fast.
Oh, how do you know that? Gosh.
Look at that. There we go, wings out.
The Lacepede's intricate marine ecosystem produces a life-sustaining blend of bacteria and algae, which interacts with the warm seawater and literally maintains life. Commonly referred to as sea sawdust, passengers had noticed the film as the coral adventurer approached the Lacepedes.
In these intertidal zones, there's a substance called biofilm, and so what it is, it's a plant-like matter, and it comes up to the surface to photosynthesize. Now, it's full of amino acids and fat, and it's really important for these migratory birds because it allows them to put on about 30% fat for these great migrations that they take. Now, that's why it's really important for all our coastal wetlands to remain intact, because these guys rely on it, and if they don't get the fat cells and they don't get that 30% bulk before they head off, they're going to run out of steam halfway across the ocean and we'll lose, entire waves of species. So a lot of our shorebirds are under a lot of pressure, and some have reduced 50% or more in the last 3 to 4 decades.
The safety and operation of the Coral Adventurer is the responsibility of Captain Matt Fryer. However, each area of the ship has a designated team leader and a crew responsible for ensuring a first-class service is provided.
We have a technical side of the ship, which is the general operation of a ship associated with any vessel, and then significantly outside that, being a passenger ship, we have the hotel side, run by a hospitality department specialising in just that, the services of hospitality. And then we have the expedition, which is obviously unique to an expedition vessel, to take the guests out and to see those remote areas and give them the experience that they're ultimately paying for in this case. The purpose of the ship is to provide the guests with an experience that they can't get elsewhere. So that's the aim of Coral Expeditions, is to give them a unique experience, and the ship is basically just a vessel for providing that experience.
The ship's function, stability and the comfort of passengers is largely the responsibility of Chief Engineer Ajinka Navali, affectionately known as AJ. The technology on board is cutting edge, including the 3,000 kilowatt stabilisers, capable of extending 7.2 metres out from the bow of the vessel in just seconds.
Yeah, I love working with electrical propulsion as well. That's what we have on this cruise ship, which is giving us a very good maneuverability, and then we can go near the beaches and all. And yeah, it's very good.
built to enable the ship's crew to navigate narrow reefs and shallow passages, while providing absolute comfort and a smooth ride in all types of weather. AJ and his team work constantly to maintain and manage the equipment and various safety redundancies which have been built in.
There are some of the interesting machineries here, such as the stabilizers. So I like working on different kind of machineries that gives us a bit different experiences. Particularly talking about these ships, I like to more focus on the safety aspects. These two are CAT 3512. They both are 1340 kilowatt each. That's 1340. And then the small one is C32, which is 940 kilowatt. Altogether around we are having 3360 kilowatt on the switchboard, which is 4950 bhp.
300 kilometres off the West Australian coastline, and after an overnight voyage, the vessel arrives at the coral atolls of Rowley Shoals, home to some of the most pristine coral gardens on the planet. And today, guests aboard the Coral Adventurer have the marine park all to themselves.
Yeah, we're the first timers into cruising around Papua New Guinea. We were the first stops all the way through Melanesia and in the route through there. So I spent a lot of time trying to find how we could get to unusual places and look for places that particularly nobody else had been to, or the bigger cruise ships weren't able to get to. And we've kept on doing that all the way through. And there's such a strong need or a strong desire to keep finding new places, and we keep on doing that.
While the atolls have claimed their fair share of unsuspecting merchant sailors in the past, these days it's mainly conservationists who visit the area, exploring the unique ecosystem and gathering invaluable data to assist in better understanding the fragile balance of this remarkable marine environment. While the Coral Adventurer positions the passengers and crew close to the action, it's the vessel's fleet of explorers which are hoisted in and out of the water on a purpose-built hydraulic platform that provide access to remote locations and unique experiences.
Okay, so this ship has a long range, so it allows us to get up into long-range islands that are, off the beaten track. And then once we get there, the explorers give us access to remote reefs, to dropping off on islands and getting a long ways up inside rivers. So I guess the Coral Adventurer, it takes us to the location, and then the explorers give us the movability once we get there. So they work really hand in hand.
Some of the equipment that we have on board that is really useful for us are the Zodiacs. These are great pieces of equipment, and they allow us to really monitor guests from above the water and provide extra additional snorkel experiences. For example, a drift snorkel, which is where we actually take passengers inside the Zodiacs and drop them on the reef and let them drift down the reef, where we're able to then pick them up again with the Zodiacs. It means that we're able to get into really shallow places and able to offer that extra level of assistance during a group snorkel activity.
For most on board, the bridge tours are a real highlight and provide a genuine insight to the construction, technical aspects and operation of this incredible expedition ship, including the jet propulsion and state-of-the-art console.
So we have direct control of two ASI pods that are down aft. We actually refer to them as ASI pools because the propellers are on the front of the pods, and they hang below the ship and they have propellers on them, and we can turn each one of those 360 degrees. So essentially the ship has no reverse gear, we just have to turn the thrust all the way around to then pull the ship astern.
At 93.4 metres long and 17.2 metres wide, the Coral Adventurer carries up to 400,000 litres of fuel. The vessel is also equipped with state-of-the-art navigation and communication systems, while paper charts have been replaced by digital imaging and real-time monitoring of the vessel's position.
So the design parameters behind these charts is that you must be able to do everything on these that you could do on a paper chart. So if you can draw a line on a paper chart, you can draw a line on here. If we take a range and bearing using our radar and relay it to the chart to fix a position, we can do the same thing here. If we use a sextant to find our position and put that position on a paper chart, we can also use a sextant to lay a position on one of these.
Day 20 of the Circumnavigation, and the ship cruises across the shimmering waters of the Dampier Archipelago. Passengers enjoy morning tea on deck as the captain guides the ship towards today's destination. While the rugged coastline has been keeping sailors and explorers at bay for hundreds of years, the area is also home to an abundance of sea life and seabirds who make the annual pilgrimage to the archipelago to breed.
The French were not that keen in coming really close to the coast. You'll often look at the chart along here, you'll find a lot of the names of the outer places are in French, and the ones closer in are people like Philip Parker King, who came in and named places that were closer to the coast. So they stayed out to sea a fair bit. These islands are very, very old. I believe the rock here is about 2.4 billion years old, which is ridiculously old. The Kimberley rocks are young compared to this, being the Kimberley 1.8 billion. These are 2.4, so they're extremely old. Like a squid, yeah. The shell was lying around the beach and the hermit crabs come in and living in that. And when that hermit crab gets too big for that one, it'll get another shell.
Amidst the rugged terrain, a myriad of resilient plants flourish. Salt-tolerant mangroves line the shores, while hardy spinifex grass carpets the dunes, anchoring the sand and preventing erosion. To truly appreciate the Dampier Archipelago, there needs to be a greater understanding of its deep cultural significance. Indigenous Australians who called this place home for thousands of years have a profound understanding of the intricate ecosystem, and it's a fact certainly not lost on passengers or crew as they enjoy sunset drinks in one of the most spectacular locations on the planet.
Tomorrow we are heading not far, actually, we're really quite close. We're heading to the Montebello Islands. That was one of the blasts. And then there's the monument for where the blast.
Just a short trip south of the Dampier Archipelago, the Montebello Islands still bear the scars of atomic testing held on the islands during the 1950s and 60s. The area's pristine shores transformed into a stage for scientific and military exploration.
That were on the decks of the ship as the atomic bomb were let off were told.
Atomic bombs were detonated here on Trimble Island in 1956, and while radiation levels are now safe enough to visit, guests are warned not to touch the island's crumbled structures.
In the 1950s, they were doing atomic testing here, so there was 3 separate blasts. There's a monument further in the centre of the island here that we're going to go visit. As we walk up this hill, we're going to look on the other side. We'll find William Lewis Lagoon. There's a good opportunity to see some sea life there as well. There'll be rays in the shallows, that type of thing. And there's also going to be scattered debris from structures that they've had just before the blasts were let off. So it's really important that we don't take any material back with us. You don't want to be picking up anything metal, anything plastic, anything at all. We are going to just spend about an hour on land this morning. The radiation levels, to put your mind at ease, are very low, but there was obviously testing here in the not too distant past.
Ian Morris saying it's hard to believe these most peaceful of surrounds, with a series of nuclear tests conducted above and below the surface, tests which have left a lasting impact on the environment.
Well, this is my first time on the Montebellos. I'm absolutely enthralled by the whole place, the whole ecosystem. But look, I'd like to spend just another quick month here, catch up with everything, because look, it is just a dynamic ecosystem. Hasn't been much interfered with except the odd atomic explosion. And a few pearlers. So yeah, the wildlife should be quite unique.
As passengers return to the ship following another big day of expeditions, head purser Zach Romain and his team have been busy preparing the evening's dinner service.
This evening we have got Jude this evening on the floor, so you'll just be the runner this evening for drinks. Then we have also got Jess stepping in, so Jess, you'll be covering William's section tonight, so we can go through that on the floor plan.
The remote coastal fishing town of Exmouth is the next stop on day 22 of the circumnavigation. And as passengers and the explorers enter the marina, it is abundantly clear that fishing is a crucial industry for the local population of approximately 3,000 people. The gateway to nearby Ningaloo Reef, Exmouth also plays a crucial role in Australia's communication and military endeavours. Almost camouflaged by the surrounding bushland, the Naval Communications Station Harold E. Holt is a towering array of antennas and satellite dishes which are scattered across the countryside. The antennas receive and transmit signals which enable communication between remote corners of the globe. The infrastructure plays an integral role in maintaining security, facilitating international cooperation, and supporting maritime operations. Constructed in 1912, Exmouth Lighthouse was designed to guide ships safely through the treacherous waters of Ningaloo Reef. While it was originally illuminated using kerosene lamps, the current light is solar-powered. Just as the Coral Adventurer is about to depart Exmouth to continue their journey down the west coast, Captain Matthew Fryer receives a call from Marine Rescue.
We've been contacted by the Marine Rescue here at Exmouth, and they've asked for our assistance in a search and rescue. They've had a report of a missing vessel from this afternoon. It's a 4.7 metre tinny that we're looking for out here, and they're giving us directions on what assistance they need from us. So currently we're on our way over to just north of the Marion Islands, where we're going to assist with the search and rescue at that location. This is clearly a priority over the tomorrow's excursion, and I think all the guests will be well understanding of that and appreciate the situation for what it is. So potentially we'll be late or maybe miss tomorrow's expedition. But that's a sacrifice I think everyone on board's quite happy to make, and for myself personally, I think it's well worth it if we can assist in any way, and hopefully we come to a happy conclusion to all this.
The skipper and crew are quick to implement onboard emergency protocols, and the Coral Adventurer begins a course towards the location provided by Marine Control. An eagle-eyed passenger spots a flare in the distance, and a short time later, the coral adventurer is stood down, free to continue their voyage down the west coast. Prior to visits to the reef, guest lecturer Tom Collis provides passengers with a lesson on the region's Indigenous and maritime history, outlining just how close Australia came to becoming a French colony. It's detail which significantly adds to the onshore and in-water experiences.
Most people that I see on these cruises are interested in not just sort of sitting around, sunbaking. They're interested in learning about the coast as they go along, about all the nature and history and that sort of thing. They're educated people who want to know more in their older years, which is great. They're places that are so far remote that you can't go there, and it was just fascinating to me, like the snorkeling, the bird life, and then of course coming further down the coast, watching the change from the tropics into the sort of arid on the coast. The coastline's quite arid, but beautiful. Some of the islands are like the vegetation is like in the desert, and the water is tropical water with coral in it. It's fascinating.
Bateman Bay and Ningaloo Reef are without a doubt some of Australia's most treasured wonders. Bateman Bay is perfectly tucked into the coastline, while Ningaloo Reef stretches some 300 kilometres.
Well, I think the advantage here is that we get to these really hard to get to remote places, and when we get there, we're not just seeing an island or seeing something, jumping in the water. We're actually getting a really good understanding, because of the background we're able to give through the guest lecturers and so on, a really good understanding of what it is that we're seeing, how it fits into the long-term ecosystems of the place and the planet, and also how it fits into the history of the locations as well. So it ends up being a really rich, enriching experience.
Cape Perrin looks out over the vast Indian Ocean, the stunning red sand dunes, white sandy beach and turquoise waters, flourishing with wildlife, including seabirds and dugongs. The more energetic and able passengers take part in a lengthy beach walk, while others opt for a coastal cruise in the Explorers. Rainfall is scarce and the relentless sun bears down upon the land, testing the endurance of any life that calls Cape Perrin home.
This is so arid here, like 200 mil a year.
Wow.
Really light. And that's 200 mil if you're lucky. So it's an arid zone. And so what some of these plants have done to survive in this arid environment is reduce the size of their leaves. These are leaves, well actually they're called phyllodes as a technical name, but they've been reduced to spines.
Wow.
So that they don't lose much water. So in the heat of the day, they're not losing much water.
Over the past 24 days, the Coral Explorer has made its way along the east coast, traversed northern Australia, and is now tracking towards the Abrolhos Islands.
Up the east coast of Australia, obviously we've got this beautiful Great Barrier Reef system, and it's more of a tropical reef system, quite warm water in the 27 to 30 degree range. As you come down the WA coast, it's more of a cool water reef system, so the corals are going to be still very healthy and lots of biodiversity, but there is differences in the colours of the corals. It's more of a cold water reef, and the species of animals you're likely to see. On the WA coast, it is a bit of a highway for megafauna, so you'll often see things like dugongs, tiger sharks.
Among the many treasures that adorn the Abrolhos Islands, one captivating spectacle stands out: the thriving colonies of sea lions that call Rat Island and these rugged shores home. Here on the remote rocky outcrops and sandy beaches, these spectacular mammals nurse their young, rest and feed. There are 122 islands in that system, and the passengers will spend the next few days exploring a selection of them. The expedition's providing crew in all areas of the vessel to prepare meals, clean staterooms, and ensure the 5-star status of this floating hotel is maintained.
We have 107 guests on board at the moment for the next 60 days. You've got to be very adaptable, and it's something that you do learn in this job as well. Not all guests are the same. So it's the hospitality industry, no matter where you are, you've always got to be adaptable, and you've got to just realise how to deal with situations, and you've got to deal with a lot of different customers, guests, all differently, because everybody has their different personalities.
The islands have also experienced their fair share of tragedy, including the Dutch East India Company ship Batavia, destroyed after hitting the reefs in 1629. The ship carrying 300 passengers struck the reef following an onboard mutiny. Survivors scrambled ashore across various islands, with these crumbled ruins a lasting reminder of chaotic aftermath.
So here we are on Batavia's graveyard. Very sparse vegetation, saltbush, nitraria, a few succulent weeds and so on, but nothing much else at all. But there is that one there that has those little berries at this time of the year. Lived on this little part of the coast here for the last 40 years, since 1980. Basically as a science, natural history teacher, biology teacher, but with a passion for getting under the water and investigating that, and eventually leading on to a pretty deep knowledge of the local maritime history, which is on this west coast of Australia is quite remarkable.
This location is Howard's backyard, so he's wrote a book on the Abrolhos Islands. I think his kind of relaying of the story of the Batavia really adds another element for our guests. So he's the perfect guest lecturer for this part of the WA coast, and it's been a pleasure having him.
If it's all right with you, I'll make the transition from the station inside to the wing station during the completing stages of the term.
Fremantle, the gateway to the Indian Ocean, is the next stop of the Coral Adventurers voyage. A vital hub for trade and exploration, these days Fremantle is a vibrant city, visited by travellers from all over the world. Fremantle remains connected to its past. Heritage buildings line the street, while the bustling harbour remains a significant international shipping port. Maritime history also holds special importance to the Fremantle community, and the Maritime Museum is home to a number of important artefacts. As the sun sets below the horizon, Captain Matt Fryer and his crew navigate the Coral Adventurer out of Fremantle Harbour, plotting an overnight course for Bustleton, the halfway point of our circumnavigation.